And welcome back to EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and let's talk about some rule changes in Commander. And no, there hasn't been any new rule changes as of recording this video. I don't know, things are happening all the time. It'll be funny if they change any of these rules before I get this video up, but nevertheless, these are some rules that I've heard other people talk about, rule changes in the format that I'm just going to give my 2 cents on. So, for example, sideboards. This is one that people have talked about quite a bit. Having sideboards in Commander, and I think mostly because of the wish cards. Any card that I go get that's outside of the game. There's lots of cards in the format that do that of course do nothing in a Commander deck because you can only get something outside of the game if it's in your sideboard. That's at least the rules that get used for other formats. And to be quite honest, in Commander, because Commander already has its own set of rules, I think it would be probably easy for the rules committee to just make a rule that you could go wish any card. You don't have to use your sideboard. The go get a card outside of the game from your sideboard rule was made for other formats, so they could actually make a different rule just for Commander for this, and I would probably be okay with that. I don't like the sideboard thing, okay? If the Commander Rules Committee wants to make some specific rule for wish cards in Commander where you can just go reach into your backpack and grab a card or something, whatever, I actually am okay with that. Obviously, it would have to fit your Commander's color identity, right? So there is that limitation. However, the sideboard thing I don't like. And the reason I don't like the sideboard thing is because once you start making sideboards for wish cards, now you have a sideboard for other things, right? And now you can start doing that. And it's going to really start overcomplicating things. I think we already have, this is a singleton format. You got 99 cards in your deck already. Now you're going to be digging into your sideboard and swapping out cards. How often are you going to be swapping out cards in your sideboard and then you forget that you did that? So you got to go through your whole deck and pull those cards out. In Commander, you rarely play more than one game in a row. In other formats, the reason a sideboard works is because you often play 3 games, right? This is a best of 3. So you play your first game, you learn what your opponent has in their deck, and then you sideboard appropriately for the second and third game. In Commander, you don't really do that. In Commander, it's 1 game, and then everyone goes their separate ways. At least that's what I usually do. Typically, you don't play 2 or 3 games in a row with the same deck. Even if you're playing in your own play group with 4 guys, you're going to play a deck, and then probably the next game you switch to a different deck, I would imagine. That's probably what most people do. So I don't really like the idea of sideboards in the format at all. I think that's definitely something that we can just leave alone. However, if the rules committee wants to come up with some other sort of situation where we can use wish cards, that's fine. We don't have to do the go get it out of your sideboard thing because that's a rule for other formats. The rules committee can just make up their own rule for using wish cards if they want to. Infect Damage, and this is another one that I have heard a lot. This one I've sort of changed my mind on a little bit. I was hard line on Infect Damage needs to be 20. The whole idea behind having more life is the game lasts longer, right? And again, this sort of goes into the whole mentality of the format. The game's supposed to be longer. You started out with the OG Elder Dragons, and I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, but there's always people in the comments talking about, if you want to play OG Chromium, then that's your problem if the game ends before you can get your commander out. That's what the format was built around. The format is Elder Dragon Highlander, and you played the original Elder Dragons as your commanders. That's the format. That's how the format was created. So, if you can't play an Elder Dragon as your commander in this format, then is it even the same format anymore? I don't think it is. Nevertheless, the whole idea behind having double as much life as you normally would in another format, so going from 20 to 40, is the game lasted longer and you didn't die as quickly, okay? So with Infect Damage, sort of maybe the same should apply. You shouldn't die as quickly. So if you're going to double the life total, maybe you should double the Infect Damage as well. I don't love getting one-shotted by a Blightsteel Colossus. That's not really a lot of fun. That being said, usually people are okay with the Infect Damage thing because it's not that big of a threat. And okay, I agree. I used to be hardline on this where where I thought absolutely it made sense for Infect Damage to be 20 instead of 10. Now I'm like, I'm okay, I guess. I put tons of removal in my deck, so I'm not that worried about it anymore. I died to Infect Damage a few times back in the early days of playing Commander. I can't remember the last time I died of Infect Damage, so I'm not that worried about it. And I think a lot of people are okay now with not changing this rule because of that, because it happens so rarely that you die from Infect Damage that a lot of people just really don't care anymore. And I suppose I would put myself in that group as well. Planeswalkers as commanders, another rule change that we've heard a lot. This one I'm very hardline on. I actually really do not like the fact that Wizards of the Coast goes out of their way to print on a card, this Planeswalker can be your commander, because the rules committee specifically said, no, we're not having Planeswalkers as commanders. And I think mostly the community in general, the commander community, has said that they're okay with that as well. And then Wizards of the Coast goes ahead and starts printing cards that specifically say on them that they can be your commander. And to hell with what the rules committee says. I don't love that. I don't love it at all. And I've talked about this before, where I just don't love the dynamic here. This isn't a great dynamic of you have one group, Wizards of the Coast, who are making cards for commander, and another group, the rules committee, who are making the rules for commander. So you have two separate entities, and I don't know how much they actually interact with each other. Obviously, there has to be some interaction. There wasn't any back in the day, right? That's why you had a separate group of people that didn't work for Wizards of the Coast that made the rules, because Wizards of the Coast didn't care. But the more popularity that the format gained, the more Wizards of the Coast is, hey, maybe we should actually start paying attention to this format that everyone loves playing. And then, of course, they actually started printing cards for the format. And now, of course, it is the most popular format. And I can't imagine that Wizards of the Coast likes the fact that their most popular format is a format that they didn't make and that they don't make the rules for. And is it a little bit of a jab to the rules committee to print Planeswalkers that say this Planeswalker can be your commander on it? I think it is. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Obviously I don't love it. And I absolutely do not want to see all Planeswalkers as commanders. I think we had the brief existence of Oathkeeper, was it? That format where you could have a Planeswalker as a commander, and I think you had a spell, and was it Oathkeeper, Oathbreaker, something like that? I don't know if it still exists or if people do it. Obviously a format that's just created by some guys, and, they like it, and that's fine. People can do whatever they like. But obviously the fact that that format has not taken off at all, I don't hear about it anymore, probably means that people are okay with just not having Planeswalkers as your commanders. You do have some options, right? You do have the Wizards of the Coast skirting the rules options that you could put Amanatu or Lord Windgrace or whatever. So if you really like a Planeswalker as your commander, you do have those options. I definitely don't think we need any more, though. And the last rule change I'm going to talk about today is banning Sol Ring. Right? This is one that people have talked about a lot. And, I really could go either way on it. As I talked about in my Banned in Commander video, where I talked about sort of all these mana positive mana rocks, right? So anything that's mana positive basically means it costs less mana than it gives you. So Sol Ring only costs 1, gives you 2 mana. That's broken, right? The reason broken that term is used is because it's something that probably shouldn't exist in Magic. But anything like those 0 mana artifacts like Mox Diamond, where it doesn't cost anything and gives you a mana, for me, I put them all in the same boat, right? For me, it's all the same. If you're going to play a Sol Ring, Mox Diamond, what's the difference? Really. First turn Sol Ring, first turn Mox Diamond, what's the difference? The difference being that Sol Ring gives you 3 mana on turn 1, as opposed to just 2 with Mox Diamond. And people get bent out of shape about a card like Mana Crypt. And as I mentioned in my Is It Casual or Not video, Sol Ring's actually better in a casual game than Mana Crypt, in my opinion, because it has no downside. In a casual game that's going to go, 8 or 10 turns, you're going to take a crap ton of damage from that Mana Crypt. Sol Ring has 0 downside. Yeah, it costs 1 and Mana Crypt is 0, but in a casual game, I think Sol Ring's actually better than Mana Crypt. But nobody has an issue with Sol Ring in a casual game typically, and a lot of people will have an issue if you play a turn 1 Mana Crypt in a casual game. For me, they're basically the same thing, So if you're asking what's my opinion on a rules change here, whether or not we should ban it, my opinion, they're all good or they're all bad. It's all the same to me. And I said the exact same thing in my Banned in Commander video. I'm even okay with the Moxes. If we're going to play mana positive mana rocks in Commander, Why not just open the floodgates and allow everything? And yes, now people are going to put all those in their commander decks. Okay. And I had someone comment on that video. Yeah, but a 5-color deck is now going to put all the Moxes in there. Okay. But if you put all the mana positive mana rocks in your deck, what's left? Like, you just have a deck full of mana rocks. What good is that? I don't know. I mean, that doesn't make for a very good deck, I think. I mean, yeah, it's going to speed you up, but then what? I don't know. For me, that doesn't seem like a very good deck, or certainly not a very fun deck. And again, now we're getting into are we playing CEDH here? If you're playing CEDH, then I would be totally okay with people playing the Moxes there too as well. Or not. I could go either way here, right? I'm making the argument for, if you're gonna ban all the mana positive mana rocks, I'm totally okay with that. Ban Soul Ring, ban Mana Vault, ban Mana Crypt, whatever. And a lot of people say that, right? And this is the part that I find a little confusing, is the people who want Mana Crypt or Mana Vault banned, but they don't want Soul Ring banned. What's the difference? They're all the same to me. To me, I see them as all the same thing. If you're going to ban them all, go ahead and ban them all. I'm totally okay with that. If the rules committee came out tomorrow and said all mana positive mana rocks, Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, whatever, they're all banned, great. I'm totally okay with that. I could move forward with that, no problem. And if they were okay with unbanning all of them and having them all legal, I'd be okay with that too. I'm okay with either. To me, it's all the same. You know, you want to unban the Moxes? I don't care. I honestly would be okay with that. There's already people that are going to put Mana Vault, Grim Monolith, Mox Diamond. There's already all those people that are going to put those cards in their deck. So what's the difference? You want to put 5 more mana positive mana rocks in your deck? Go ahead. If that's what you want to do, have fun with that. I don't think that's fun. I don't think it's casual either. Should you play Mana Vault or Grim Monolith in a casual game? You know, I don't know, right? Now we're getting into the discussion of whether or not certain cards are casual or not. And I don't know if you necessarily can nail that one down. But as far as banning goes, I'm totally okay with them banning all mana positive mana rocks. Totally okay with that. If they leave it the way it is, I'm okay with that too. I could go either way on this one. I definitely wouldn't get bent out of shape about it. I mean, there's a lot of cards available in the format already. So really anything they ban, I would probably be okay with. You know, they banned Hull Breacher and I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I don't care. You know, I'm a big fan of white. I play a lot of white cards. If they ban Smothering Tithe, because I've actually heard people calling for that to get banned, I think that's a little silly. But if they ban Smothering Tithe, I would be okay with it. I don't think it's necessary, but I would be okay with it. I wouldn't lose my mind over it, that's for sure. There's so many cards to choose from in the format already that if they ban cards that are really, really popular, like a Smothering Tithe or a Soul Ring, more importantly, you know, if they ban Soul Ring in the format, now I take Soul Ring out of my decks and that's another slot that I can put something interesting in, you know? It's almost a good thing. It's almost a good thing for them to ban Soul Ring, because now that's one slot in all of my decks that I can now put a more interesting card in. You know, I'm sort of making the case for not putting Soul Ring in my decks now. Now I'm thinking maybe I should just do that. Maybe I should just go ahead and take Soul Ring out of all of my decks, and then I can put something a little more interesting or synergistic in the deck instead. But anyway, just another interesting discussion. You know, just my personal opinion on some rule changes that I hear people talk about all the time, where I'm just like, yeah, how do I feel about this? I thought I would make a video where I just give my opinion. You know, this is just my opinion. Nothing to get bent out of shape about. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. You can comment below if you think there are, you know, these rule changes, or maybe there are some others that you think should be done. Specific cards maybe that should be banned. For me personally, I can't think of any specific cards that I would definitely ban. There's definitely some cards that I'm sick of seeing all the time, like Expropriate and Craterhoof Behemoth. I don't think they should be banned. I'm just sort of tired of losing to them all the time. But with that being said though, what's your opinion? Comment below what you think. What rule changes maybe should be implemented in the format, cards that should be banned or maybe unbanned. But that is it for today, and thanks for tuning in.